Sweet June 2010, coming back at you. Um, I'm on here. Uh, I hate to keep beating a dead horse. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I'm not trying to beat you guys upside the head about all this hate, this black on black hatred. It just bothers me. It just it I you know I'm on here. I come on here to give people some enlightenment, and I like to come on here to witness, to people, and spread God's word as well, because I like to do that, and it's my responsibility as a Christian to do that. Um, and I like to give people some enlightenment. At the same time, I like to keep it real on here too. I'm not going to sugarcoat or blow smoke, so to speak. So, but at the same time, um, in 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 reference to keeping it real, I just wanted to express how I really feel about different things. Um, what just bothers me on down to my spirit. Down to my core. The things that just really bothers me as a human being, as a woman, as a black woman. As a black person. You know, things that bothers me. And so I like to also express that too. And so, I'm gotten a few responses on my last blogs about black men continued hatred, black men's hatred towards black women, and some of the brothers is it's interesting because some of the brothers is coming on here saying, um, you know, um, they're saying that a couple of them said this generation of the younger generations of black women, you know, um, I don't want to. Well, I'm gonna tell you my age, and the only reason why is because I'm trying to make a point here. Um, well, I'll just put it like this: I'm in my early 40s. You know, um, so I grew up like in the 70s. I was a teenager in the 80s, early 80s. That's kind of like my generation. So the brothers coming on here saying, talking about the younger generations of black women. I think that's black women. I think that's interesting because, um, well, my son is 22 years old, and he did mention to me. We had a discussion one day, and we were talking about women, and I was telling them, giving them, just letting them know, running it down to them, letting them know that hey, women need to be treated with respect. All women are not the B word. All women are not hoes and all this kind of stuff. You need to treat women with respect and all this type of stuff, and he was saying, I don't like for him to call women whores. I just don't like it. I don't like to even hear that come out of my son's mouth because I like to think I didn't raise him that way. Because I know he wouldn't want nobody calling me that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like to hear that come out of his mouth. But then, we had a discussion one day, and he was saying how these young black women out here, um, he was telling me about the mentality of some of these young black women out here. The mentality. He said a lot of times, Mom, it's the mentality. They have the mentality that they want somebody that's going to give them money. They looking for a man that's just going to straight up give them money, and that's all they looking for. And all they thinking about is the money. They're not thinking about having a relationship or perhaps getting with someone that they can grow with. You know that they could get into a loving relationship. Like my son, he's 22 years old. He's working at Burger King. He's in the process of trying to get himself together. He didn't, not to put his business out there, but he didn't get his, excuse me, he didn't get his high school diploma. So he's working on his GED. Now he's working getting into management at Burger King. I'm really proud of him about that. So he's that's what, and I was basically telling him, son, get yourself together first before you talking about getting into a relationship. Do Justin, get Justin together first, cause don't no woman want no man that ain't got nothing going for itself. Excuse me. And I'm basically just keeping it real, with him because the man is the head. Not saying that I'm a third. I believe 100% that two people can work together and build something together. I wouldn't mind being with a brother like that too. We can come together and work together and build a foundation together. Nothing wrong with that either. But a brother has to show some type of potential. He has to show that you know that's what he wants to do and that's what his goals are. So basically, I was laying it on the line to him and letting him know, this is what you should be doing. Get Justin together first before you go out there and be trying to you know get with somebody else. So basically, he was saying, and he's in the process, like I said, of trying to get himself together and everything like that. And he was like, well, these young girls, they don't, they don't want that. They want somebody that's already got their bread stacked. You know, that's how he puts it. That's how he talks. Is that these young men out here how they be talking. And he said, "Mom, they want somebody that already got their bread stacked, and all they thinking about is the money." And and he's talking about. He was basically telling me about the mentality of the young black women out here, and that's he was basically saying that's their mentality. He said a lot of them even be thinking about getting pregnant and just getting the money, and they don't seem to be interested in getting into a relationship where they can grow with someone, where they can, develop a healthy relationship, and you guys can grow together and then possibly one day get married and start a family, And he said they don't seem to be interested in that. He said the only thing they really seem to be thinking about is the money and getting money and having babies or whatever. And he was just breaking it down to me, the mentality of the young black women out here. So I thought that was interesting. So when some brothers come on here and express that, I kind of marinated on it. I thought about it. I said, well, yeah, um, I think I mean, but see, when the thing, what bothers me is when they say black women, they're not saying the younger generation of black women. When they say black women, that's how I take it. I take it as you're talking about all black women across all generations, and it doesn't matter what demographic that black woman is in, because that's how I take it, and that's how a lot of black men state it. They just say all black women. It don't matter. It don't make no difference how old you are. My mother is 71 years old, so they could be talking about her too. You know, so a lot of them are. I notice a lot of them are coming on here talking about the younger generations of black women, talking about they can't cook. That's why I couldn't understand why black men all of a sudden coming on here saying that we can't cook. And I think it is talking. They are talking about the younger generations of black women. Um, with that being said, I marinated on it, and I'm thinking, okay, well maybe the younger generation of black women maybe do have a different mentality than black women my age, my generation. Black women in their 30s, black women in their 40s, and on forward. Maybe I'm thinking maybe they do have a different mentality. However, my two nieces, they're wonderful young black women. My one niece, she's in London. She's in college. She's in London right now. She's studying to be a journalist. My girl is bad. Okay, she's a young black woman, and she doing it. She doing it, and she's a wonderful person. She had a good upbringing. My sister and my brother-in-law, with the assistance of my older sister, they brought her up really well. And gave her good Christian values, you know, and created that good foundation for her, you know. Plus, she had a really close relationship with her father, and I think that's very important too. And that's something that you black men, you need to keep in mind, that a lot of young black women do not have a relationship with their father, and that will affect how they relate to men. So you have to understand the mentality. You know, I didn't have a relationship with my father, but however, I had three strong black women in my life growing up. I had my grandmother, I had my aunt, and I had my mother. And all three of them, I had three strong black women in my life growing up. And because I had that, I was taught a lot of good values. You know, they were good women. And I seen how they were, you know, was doing different things and handling their business and carrying themselves as decent women, and they led by example. But they also taught me a lot of, me and my sisters, a lot of good values and things like that. So even though I didn't have that father figure, and I'm not saying that didn't affect me, I think in some lot of ways it did. But at the same time, I was also taught those good values from, you know, the three strong black women that was in my life growing up. So I think that played a good role too in determining what type of person that I am. You know, um, and the younger generations of black women, and it is true that the younger generations coming up, they have a different mentality than us older black women. You know, they just have a different mentality. They just have a different mentality, period. You know, I think black children coming up have a different mentality than what we had when we were growing up. You know, when we were growing up, when, you know, I was taught that when you go to somebody's house, you speak and you sit your butt down unless you are invited into another room. You don't go walking all over their house. You don't go in their refrigerator. You don't go asking for stuff. And that's just the way I was raised. And you know, I still do that today. And I'm a grown woman, and I still, when I go, I could be knowing you for 20 years, and I go in your house, I would get somewhere and sit down. You know, and I will not walk all over your house and all that, because that's just the way I was brought up. And so, you know, my son's friends come over and they be walking all over my house and acting like just making themselves at home and asking for stuff. I'm just not used to that. And it bothers me because I'm just not used to that. But that's because my point is that they have a different mentality. These young people coming up, they have a different mentality. Even the children have a different mentality than what we had when we were growing up. Because when we were growing up, I mean, we walked a straight line. We was growing up in a time where the neighbor could reprimand you, could discipline you, because it was basically literally a village back then. But nowadays, I wish you would try to check somebody else's kid. You can't put your hands on somebody else's child. Even the teachers can't put their hands on them. You gonna go to jail. So, and cussed out by the parent on top of that. So, it's just that I think it's, you know, we're in a different time. You know, we're just in a different time, and I think the brothers do got some valid points. Cause I'm open. I'm open. I'm open. I'm a reasonable person, and I'm really open to um, different points of views. Um, I think that I marinated on what some of the brothers said, and I do think that they do have a point. Cause like I said, me and my son had the same discussion, and he was talking about the mentality of the young black women, and maybe they do have a different mentality. However, there's a lot of you know, young black women that is not like that. You know, there's a lot of young black women that's in the church. Um, you know, like where I go to Kingdom Hall, there's young black women. They're decent. So I think it's about. I think even then I still don't think it's right to generalize, because even then you got to look at, and some of them are products of their environment too. You have to look at the whole picture. You can't just look at pieces of it. And I know brothers be thinking, you know, I know they probably thinking, man, I ain't got time to be, you know, I'm not a psychologist. I ain't got time to be trying to psychoanalyze, try to figure out why these particular sisters is like this. You know, I'm trying to find me a woman. I'm trying to find me a quality woman. I know what you brothers are thinking. You're trying to find a quality woman. You ain't got time. You ain't no psychologist. You ain't got time to try to figure out why the sister the way she is. But however, I'm just encouraging you brothers to please at least keep an open mind. At least consider it. I guess because I'm a thinker. I'm the type of person. I'm a thinker, and I probably should have been a psychologist because I do try to psychoanalyze everything. You know, I'm trying to think. Okay, why brothers do this? Why brothers do A? Why brothers do B? Why do brothers do C? And in my mind, I'm thinking. And then I'm a reader. I'm a learner, and I'm a reader. I love to learn, and I love to read. So what do I do? The first thing I do is basically either get on the internet or I'll go to the library, do some research because I love to do research. I'll research something in a minute, and I'll go find some books on it. I'll go read, or I'll go on the internet and do some research and find out, what is the psychology behind black men doing this, black men doing that? What is the psychology behind it? I mean, that's just me. That's just that's just the kind of person that I am. That's just how I am. I'm a learner. I'm a learner. I'm a reader. That's just the kind of person that I am. But if the only thing I'm asking brothers to do, the only thing I'm appealing to brothers to do, is to please take the time, just open up your mind, and it's not just your mind but your heart. Open up your heart as well. If you meet a sister, take the time to get to know her. And if she is a certain way, I know you ain't got time to be, you know, but you do have to consider the fact that some young black women, they're the product of their environment. Some of them are growing up in the inner cities and the ghettos, and they've been exposed to certain things, and sometimes their mother is a certain way, and that's how they wind up being. And so, you have to look at it like that too. But not every black woman is in that demographic. I mean, so you just have to. I know me, like I said, I've been through a lot with black men, and like I said, sometimes I struggle. And I look at what I see too. I'm looking at the illegitimacy rate. I'm looking at all the black children that's growing up without fathers. I'm looking around me in my communities, in the different black communities, and I'm seeing how a lot of black children are growing up without fathers. My children grew up without their fathers, and I'm seeing how these black men are walking out on their kids and all that kind of stuff, and it makes me angry. And there's times where I said, man, black women, men, they ain't a bunch of deadbeats. But then but then I had to say, as a Christian, I had to stop and think, wait a minute, June. There's some good brothers out here. They're just few and far between. I said, but they're out here. There's some in my family. And there is some really good, wonderful black fathers out here. They really are. So I had to open up my mind a little bit as well as my heart, and say, come to realize that no, not all black men are like that. It's just not enough black men are like that. That's the problem. That's the dilemma that we're dealing with in the black community. It's just that not enough black men are like that. And so that, you want to say that they're all a bunch of deadbeats, but then when you stop and think about it, you got to think, no, that's not true, because you got a lot of Christian brothers. Now, I'm not talking about the perpetrating Christians. I'm talking about the real Christian brothers that's really, really trying to serve God and do God's will. They're strong family men, sticking by their kids and, trying to be there for their children and everything like that, trying to lead by example. So, I mean, look at our President Obama himself. I mean, he's a good father and good husband. So it's a lot of black men that are good fathers and they're good husbands. So, and I had to, open up my mind and my heart enough to see that. But it takes, I guess it takes having a good relationship with God. And when you have a good relationship with God, and you cultivate the love of God and the love of Jesus in your heart, and once you do that, then God will allow you to open up your heart, and He will allow you. He'll give you that discernment, and He'll allow you to see people for who they really are. He'll allow you to see, okay, well maybe you meet a nice black woman, and you know he'll allow you to see, well, okay, maybe open up your mind and your heart a little bit, and get to really know her, and not be in judging her by the content of her character. Because the reason why I know what I'm talking about, because God has been dealing with me on that. You know, I had a lot of anger too towards black men, but God has been dealing with my heart on that too. And it's like when I meet a black man, I don't automatically put him in that category. I get to know him, and I open up my mind and I open up my heart, and I get to know who this brother really is, and if he has a good character, and as getting to know him, and it don't necessarily have to meet in a dating. It's not, a lot of times it's not in a dating type situation. It's just like just getting to know the brother, as a friend or as an associate, getting to know him and talking to him and finding out, what his mentality is and all that kind of stuff. And the more you get to know a person, the more you learn about that person. And then you can make your assessment and say, okay, well, all right, this is a good man here, or this is a good woman. So that's what I'm just saying, maybe it's gonna take, cultivating that love of God, cultivating that love that Jesus had, to be able to do that. Make it a matter of prayer, and pray and say, God, open up my eyes, and help me to see, you know, um, and some of you brothers, you're looking at superficial things. You got to stop looking at how big her butt is, or you know how good she looks, because everything look good ain't good. Okay, beauty's only skin deep. Maybe you're overlooking the black women that they may not look like Beyonce, or they may not fit that. They might not have the qualities, the physical attributes that you're looking for. They may have some of them. They may not have all of them. But that might be a good sister. It's just like us black women. Sometimes we overlook the good black man. Like we see a black man that's a garbage collector, or he's working for the city, and those guys make decent money. And a lot of times, we're overlooking those guys, and those could be good black men. You know, you can't judge a book by its cover. And say, okay, well, this black man, he's doing this, so and so it takes opening up your mind and opening up your heart, and realizing, okay, getting to know the person, and not don't be so stuck on superficial things, because I think that's a lot of the problem too. Brothers are looking at superficial things, and they're not looking at what's on the inside, and that's what you have to do. Everything look good ain't good. Just because she look good don't mean she ain't good. I mean, it doesn't mean that she is good. Just because a man look good don't mean he's good. A man could be drop dead gorgeous. I've ran into some men that was, woo, they was fine, but they wasn't no good. They wasn't no good. So see, everything look good ain't good. You know, I don't want a drop dead gorgeous man, or a good looking man, if he ain't no good. I'm interested what's going on in his heart, what's going on in his mind. Is he gonna be faithful to me? Is he gonna be loyal? Is he gonna love me? Is he gonna respect me? These are the things that does he have the love of God in his heart? These are the things I'm going to be looking for. And those, I understand, brothers. You don't want, everybody wants somebody halfway decent on their arm. I do too. But there's a balance. You can't just look at just one thing. You got to look at the whole picture. And I just appeal to brothers to please try to do that. When you're meeting a black woman, try to look at the whole picture, and get to know her as a person. Get to know her first before you say, I don't want none of them black women. You know what I'm saying? Because you never know. That might be a good sister. And that might be the one for you. Okay, I appreciate your brother's responses, even though I don't agree with them all. But, brothers, come on here and let me know what you think about what I just said. Let me know about, you know, let me know about how you feel about what I just said. Come on here and let me know what's going on. What's on your mind. Let me know how you feeling on that. Do you agree with the fact that maybe you should pray about it and ask God to help you to open up your mind and your heart, and maybe, because I know you ain't got time to analyze and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, just let me know what's up. Okay, Sweet June 2010.